Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with the fourth installment of the Resigning in a Winning Position series. The first three videos are number 85, 88 and 95 on the Chess to Impress channel. This is the game between two Soviet players played in 1985 in Ukraine in Berdyansk. It was the fifth round of that tournament, played on the 6th of December 1985. White was Igor Samarin. He does not have a FIDE title, but he plays at about international master strength. And black was the famous Grandmaster Vladimir Antoshin, mostly famous for being part of the highly successful Soviet Union Olympia team from 1954 to 1956. He played in that team with the world-class Grandmasters Mark Taimanov and also with former world champion Boris Spassky. White Samarin, black Grandmaster Antoshin. Let's look at the game. Knight f3, d5, d4, c6, c4. We have a Slav defense. e6, queen c2, knight d7, and g3, transposing to the Catalan. Knight gf6, bishop g2, knight e4, white castled, bishop d6, and now an unusual move. Here white played bishop f4, allowing black to shatter the pawn structure in front of the king. That's not good for white to have this pawn structure, but what he gets in return is control of the e5 square. One of black's ideas might be to push e6, e5 to open up the diagonal for the bishop on c8, which is black's problem piece. And that's more difficult now because white has good control over e5. Black is rerouting his knight, knight f8, knight d2, knights are swapped, and knight g6. Rook ac1, queen f6, now the f4 pawn is attacked twice, so e2, e3. Black castles, white plays king h1. A possible idea, as I said, is to play later rook g1 and do something over the g file. So white is preparing that. Queen e7, b4, d takes, rook takes, f6, queen b2. Both players are maneuvering their pieces around. Bishop d7, trying to get some activity for that bishop, which is still blocked in. Rook c5, b6, kicking the rook back. Rook c2, rook ac8, rook fc1, queen d6, a3, knight e7, knight d2, knight f5, bishop e4, knight h4, queen b3, and now black plays king h8. It's always advisable to, if possible, to move the king away out of harm's way. This diagonal b3 to g8 with the queen, it's better to not have your king on that diagonal, so king h8 is a very sensible move. Queen d3 attacking h7, f5, bishop g2, and black takes, eliminating a defender. That bishop is a very strong piece with this pawn structure for white, so eliminating it is a good idea for black. Black wants to attack. You'll see in the next few moves that he's bringing his pieces over to the king side to attack the open white king, and he started with g5. If white had defended in the most correct way, then the computer shows an advantage for white. After f takes g5, the computer is just very coolly defending everything and remains a pawn up and claims that black's attack is not strong enough. Easy for a computer to say, but for a human this is much more difficult. e5, trying to really activate that bishop. What is quite instructive is that black is now really mobilizing all his pieces against the white king, and let's see how he does that. Queen c3, f4, trying to open up the f file, and indeed that bishop is now very strong. D takes d5, queen e6, f3, c5, and here white decides to keep the f file closed. The computer says, why don't you take on f4? There, the black attack is not as dangerous as it looks, but over the board that's not an easy decision to make. So e4 is a very human move, and rook g8 from black, bringing more pieces into the attack. The f file is not going to be opened, so black moves his rook to the g file. King h1, preparing the defense. Rook takes, queen c4, trying to swap queens. Black, of course, does not want that. He wants to keep his attack going with as many pieces as possible. Queen f1, again trying to swap queens. And here black thought he could finish the game straight away. What he should have played is queen h5, keep the attack going, keep the pressure on white, and then he has a very strong attack, which should be successful. But as I said, Antushin thought he could win the game on the spot with queen takes h2 check. You have to take, and then the plan was rook c g8 with a deadly mating threat of rook h5, and then you only can interpose the queen, and then rook takes h3 checkmate. And it is checkmate because the bishop on d7 is also covering the h3 square. Samarin did not see any defense against this and resigned here. Another factor might also be that his opponent was a grandmaster, and he believed his opponent, he believed this was checkmate, he didn't see a way out. But there was a way out. White could have played e5, e6, and that move serves two purposes. First, the bishop is now for a moment not covering the h3 square, and also it opens up the fifth rank. So if now, let's look at the variations, if now black tries rook h5 check, then you have to interpose the queen, but that's okay because black also sacrifices queen for a pawn, so you can sacrifice the queen back, rook takes h3, king takes h3, and for example bishop takes e6, simply king h2, the attack is gone and you are a rook up with white and are easily winning. So what if we take the pawn with black? If Antushin would have taken that pawn, bishop takes e6, with still the same threat of rook h5 and rook takes h3 checkmate. But then there is rook takes c5, controlling the h5 square, so there is no rook h5 with checkmate. You can take that rook, but then the second rook comes to c5, and again the black attack is gone. You can try rook g3 for example, but then simply rook h5 and there is no more attack, and white is a queen for a rook up. So that would have saved white, not just saved him, that would actually have won in the game. e5, e6, and then rook takes c5. When I prepared for this video, I saw a funny quote from somebody on the internet. How would you like to have been black in this game and seeing that white, after you've sacrificed your queen, can stop your mating net? Imagine sitting there, sweating it out, hoping and praying that your opponent doesn't see the saving move. I can't imagine the relief you would feel when he finally resigns. And maybe that's what happened to Vladimir Antushin. We will not be able to ask him because he passed away, but this was a resigning in a winning position from his opponent Igor Samarin. Hope you enjoyed this game with the dramatic end, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing your comments. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.